Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, The World We Live in Today. It wasn't born in the 20th century, it was manufactured in the 19th. From 1800 to 1900, humanity experienced a series of revolutions so profound, they completely rewired our planet. This is the story of how that happened, a recap of the century that transformed everything. Let's start the clock at 1800. Europe is a mess. The French Revolution had just chopped the heads off a monarchy, and a guy named Napoleon Bonaparte is turning the continent into his personal chessboard. His Napoleonic Wars weren't just about conquest. They were a super spreader event for revolutionary ideas. Feudalism, an ancient system of lords and peasants, crumbled. For the first time, people started thinking of themselves not as subjects of a king, but as citizens of a nation, with rights and equality before the law. When the dust settled at the Congress of Vienna in 1815, the old royals tried to put the genie back in the bottle, but it was too late. The seeds of modern politics and future revolutions were planted. While armies were clashing, a quieter but far more disruptive revolution was getting underway. The Industrial Revolution. It started with a puff of steam. The steam engine, perfected and put to work, changed everything. Suddenly, machines could do the work of 100 people. Textile factories exploded across Britain, hungry for cotton and spitting out cheap cloth. Coal mines, iron foundries, and steel mills became the heart of new industrial landscapes. This wasn't just about new gadgets. It was a total social upheaval. For thousands of years, most people lived and worked on farms. Now they flooded into rapidly growing cities for factory jobs. This created brand new social classes, a powerful group of industrial capitalists and a huge, often impoverished working class. Conditions were brutal, leading to the birth of labor movements demanding better pay and safer workplaces. This was the biggest economic shift since the invention of agriculture itself, and it was just getting started. The idea of the nation, which Napoleon helped spread, caught fire. People who shared a language, a culture, and a history began demanding their own countries. In Latin America, leaders like and Desan led epic campaigns to throw off Spanish colonial rule, creating a continent of new republics. Back in Europe, the 1830s and 42nds were rocked by waves of revolutions. People rose up in France, Germany, Italy, and beyond, demanding constitutions and national unity. While many of these uprisings failed in the short term, they fueled two of the century's biggest projects: the unification of Italy, known as the Risorgimento, and the forging of the German Empire under Otto von Bismarck in 1871. Empires ruled by dynasties were out. Nation-states defined by people were in. Nationalism became the single most powerful political force in the world. Amidst all this change, a moral awakening was taking shape. The industrial economy, for all its power, was built on the exploitation of labor, including the horrific institution of slavery, but a powerful abolitionist movement was gaining ground. Britain abolished the slave trade in 1807, then slavery itself across its empire in 1833. The most dramatic chapter unfolded in the United States. The country was a paradox, a republic founded on liberty that legally enslaved millions. This contradiction tore the nation apart in the American Civil War from 1861 to 1865. The conflict wasn't just about slavery. It was about whether the country was a loose collection of states or a single indivisible nation. The Union's victory settled the question. It abolished slavery, strengthened the federal government, and set the United States on a path to becoming a global industrial powerhouse. By 1888, when Brazil finally abolished slavery, the institution was legally dead in the Americas, a monumental step for human rights. This spirit of reform also led to the first child labor laws, pushes for public education, and the early stirrings of the women's rights movement. As the century entered its final decades, the industrial powers of Europe, now flush with technology and national pride, looked outward. What followed was the age of imperialism, a frantic global land grab. The scramble for Africa is the most stark example. At the Berlin Conference in 1884, European leaders literally drew lines on a map, carving up an entire continent among themselves with no regard for the people who lived there. Their goal? raw materials for their factories and national prestige. A similar story played out across Asia. Britain controlled India, the jewel in its crown. France took Indochina. The Dutch held the East Indies. China, once the world's most powerful empire, was humiliated in the Opium Wars and forced to grant concessions to Western powers. By 1900, a handful of European nations controlled an astonishing 85% of the globe. This was made possible by superior military technology and justified by racist ideologies that claimed Europeans were on a civilizing mission. This dominance was powered by an incredible explosion of science and technology. Think about the world in 1800 versus 1900. In 1800, the fastest way to send a message was by a person on a horse. By 1900, you had the telegraph and the telephone, allowing for instant communication across continents. We harnessed electricity to light up our cities. The internal combustion engine was invented, paving the way for cars and airplanes. Photography allowed us to capture a moment in time forever. In medicine, breakthroughs like anesthesia, vaccines, and germ theory revolutionized health and doubled life expectancy in many places. And intellectually, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution fundamentally changed our understanding of life and our place in the universe. Science was replacing superstition, and technology was becoming the ultimate engine of power. But this new industrial, capitalist world was deeply divided. While a few became fabulously wealthy, the working masses in the cities often lived in poverty. This massive inequality gave rise to a powerful new ideology, socialism. In 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels published the Communist Manifesto, arguing that history was a story of class struggle. They predicted that the working class, the proletariat, would eventually rise up, overthrow capitalism, and create a classless society. This wasn't just an academic theory, it inspired labor strikes, the formation of socialist parties, and a deep simmering tension between capital and labor that would define the next century. The great ideological battle of the modern age had begun. While new empires were rising, the old ones were crumbling. The Ottoman Empire, once a mighty force straddling 3 continents, was now known as the sick man of Europe, slowly losing its territories. In the east, China's Qing dynasty was plagued by internal rebellion and foreign interference. The once great Spanish Empire had collapsed, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire was a patchwork of restless ethnic groups, all clamoring for independence. These decaying empires created massive power vacuums, destabilizing entire regions and creating tempting targets for their stronger rivals. So, as the clock ticked over to the year 1900, what did the world look like? We had powerful, industrialized nation-states, brimming with nationalist pride. We had a web of military alliances dividing them into competing blocs. We had fierce imperial rivalries over colonies and resources. We had industrial factories that could churn out rifles, machine guns, and artillery shells at a terrifying rate. And we had extreme ideologies, nationalism, imperialism, socialism, all competing for the soul of humanity. The 19th century had set the stage perfectly. It destroyed the old world of kings and peasants and built a new one of nations, industries, and ideologies. The great conflicts of the 20th century, the world wars, the Russian Revolution, the Cold War, decolonization were not an accident. They were the inevitable result of the forces unleashed in the 100 years that came before. The modern world, with all its wonders and its horrors, was truly manufactured in the 19th century. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the full series. See you next time.